Today the project is to put a brushless PWM controlled electric fan on my 66 Chevelle. I recently did some engine upgrades and some upgrades to the cooling system, that including replacing the radiator with this new aluminum one and removing the old mechanical flex fan. So with that I wanted to add a modern electric fan. For brushless fans there are some good options in the aftermarket, but they are quite expensive. I thought it'd be reasonable to proceed with a OEM GM part, as I thought this would offer good reliability and performance and overall value. This is the fan I selected. It is the stock replacement for a 2014 to 2019 Corvette. And this overall fan is the same one used, I think, in GM trucks of the same era, but I selected this particular one because the dimensions fit my application. So I ordered it brand new from Rock Auto, and this is what I received. And overall, I thought it looked really good. So, as expected, it has decent quality construction. It is labeled by Spal, so obviously Spal is making these for GM. And it also makes a point of being a sealed brushless unit. The electrical connection is a 3-wire connector. From Rock Auto, I also ordered the wiring harness for this, or the wiring connector, and this appears to be a good quality piece. Now, of course, the plastic shroud has a lot of parts and pieces that won't be required for my application, so I plan to trim those off. But overall, I thought the quality of the shroud was pretty good, actually. For my application, the shroud and fan assembly was too wide to fit, and this is partly a combination of the wide radiator and also just the way the car is. So this wasn't a surprise, though. I was expecting to have to tailor this shroud to fit for my application. And to do that was pretty straightforward. I used a body saw and just trimmed off some of the extra plastic. And then I put it on a belt sander and made all the edges nice and smooth. And with a few minutes of trimming, that was easily able to fit in between the water pump and the radiator. To mount the fan, I cut a couple small pieces of aluminum and bolted the aluminum to the fan. And then the plan is to bolt these aluminum pieces to the radiator. So with a bit of aesthetic trimming on the shroud and some black paint, I think overall this looks pretty good. And mounted up, I think we have just enough clearance there. Now, of note, this engine is solid mounted to the frame, so there is no movement. I think if it had flexible motor mounts, you'd probably need a bit more space than that. But for this application, I think that will work just fine. Now this fan needs a PWM, a pulse width modulated controller, and for that I'm using something a bit excessive, and that's this MS3 Pro ECU. The reason I'm using the MS3 Pro is because I had it lying around. I previously tried to use this ECU on my Turbo LS airboat, but I didn't get a great result with it, so I took it off and basically it's just been sitting on the shelf. So I'll put it to use here. Power for the fan will come from this fuse box. This will also feed the ECU, and of course I'll be using relays to actually provide the power to the fan. I mounted the Mega Squirt under the dash, basically behind the glove box. Setup and configuration of the fan was pretty straightforward. I have a temperature sender on the passenger side head that sends a signal to the ECU. And then the ECU sends a signal to turn on the fan, and with the PWM signal, what power setting to operate the fan. The fan does have an automatic soft start, which is quite nice. I'm using Tuner Studio to program the fan. I'm keeping it quite simple, basically just operating from water temperature, but there is a possibility to add in other parameters as well as vehicle speed or engine RPM, but for now just temperature. And the fan can be programmed for any power output from about 10% to 96%. At 90% power here, you can see that this fan really moves a lot of air. It's relatively quiet at the lower power settings, and even at this very high power setting, it's not too bad, but you can tell this fan is really spinning.